I've had such a delightful evening getting to know Russ better and his family better. When I first contacted Russ about a visit to the Coca-Cola World Headquarters for our Maymester, or Atlanta Maymester class, he instantly and without hesitation said yes, and all because of the late Dr. John Wardrop. Russ took the New York Maymester class with John and said that he wanted to do the same thing for students that so many of our alumni did for him. And I don't know what those alumni did, but I mean, you're magic. But he is so welcoming to today's students. And when we arrive, he asks what they want to learn and seeks to address their questions. He talks about his job as if it's not a big deal. But Director for Integrated Marketing Content, or Marketing Communications, right? Oh, yeah, that's your old title. For one of the largest, the world's largest corporations is a big deal. So this will be upcoming. Can we still come?
Of course.
Yeah. He spends all afternoon with us, and he truly seems to relish his time with our students. We even met Mean Joe Green, visited the social media hub, and toured the Coca-Cola archives. Bonnie, you would love that. And Russ has reminisced about sharing the Coliseum with professional wrestlers, circus animals, and quite a few rock bands. But he said it made it very interesting going to class every day. Back to Dr. Wardrop. Russ said his relationship with him was one of the greatest gifts he has ever received. And I'm quoting him now. He instilled the confidence in me that a kid from a small town in South Carolina had just as good a chance as anyone to make it in New York or anywhere for that matter. Russ, it is truly my honor to present this well-deserved award to you.
Wow, this is an incredible honor, and it is, I couldn't be more thrilled to be back home at the University of South Carolina in your new home, which is absolutely beautiful. And Lisa, thank you so much for your kind words. That was a beautiful introduction. And another great gift that I have is the relationship that we've been able to form over the past couple of years in your annual trip with the students to Atlanta. And I've really enjoyed the relationship that we formed as a result of it. And please know that it's people like you that go above and beyond to expose students to so much opportunities that are really at their fingertips in the world around them that makes this place such a special place to me and to others. I'd like to first start and congratulate all the really accomplished honorees that are here tonight. And thank the University of South Carolina for hosting such an amazing evening. Dean Reichert, I'm not sure. Ah, there you are. We met earlier. We're thrilled to welcome you to the family. I know it's been a couple months, but welcome. Couldn't be more excited to have you. And Dr. Tanner, we're so appreciative that you organized this event and for such a fun evening and all the work that you do to keep us alumni connected through things like the Alumni Council that started recently. I'm also happy to have my family here with me tonight for such a special occasion. So my wife Meredith is here, and she might be from the Northeast, but is definitely an honorary Gamecock after riding all the highs and lows of each football season with me. It was a little too late for our two boys, Jack and Bradley, who are 7 and just 5, to be here tonight, but I'm sure that the babysitter has her hands full right now in Camden, South Carolina. My brother Will and my sister-in-law Jessica are here. They both drove in this evening from Charleston, and they both also are USC graduates. Will actually walked the halls of the Coliseum too as a student at the College of Journalism. So Will and Jessica, it means a ton to me that you're here tonight. And last but certainly not least, my parents are here tonight, Michael and Marlene Mischner. They're sitting right here, and I'm a lucky guy that I get to have really caring parents and supportive parents like the ones that I have, and it means the world to me that you're here tonight. And in fact, my dad, he's a big reason why I chose to go down the path of journalism and mass communications. You see, my dad, he exposed me to journalism at a really early age because for my entire life, he's been in the newspaper business. First as publisher of the newspaper in Camden, the Chronicle Independent, and now in his current role as the owner and publisher of Camden Media, which leads several newspapers throughout the Midlands. And my dad gave me my first job when I was 14 years old. And each week, I would come to his office and individually count and roll all of the quarters that had been collected each day at the newspaper racks around the city. But looking back, it was a heck of a job for a 14-year-old kid, and I might not have realized it at the time, but he exposed me to so much just being around a newsroom at an early age. And from then, he and my mother, they encouraged me to join the high school newspaper staff, the Palmetto Leaf at Camden High School. And that's where my love for the art of communications really began. And more than anything, they always taught me that if you treat people well, and if you work really hard, and to use Dad's words, always go the extra mile, then good things will happen as a result. So Mom and Dad, I tried to follow that advice, and it hasn't let me wrong. So thank you for being here tonight, and I love you very much. Notice that I said I tried to follow that advice, not that I always did follow that advice. You see, I have to admit that even though my dad tried his best, so much of learning really has to come through the real world and experiencing it firsthand. And sometimes overcoming those initial setbacks, I believe, it's when you learn the most. And that's where the University of South Carolina comes in for me, because the University of South Carolina taught me very early on in life that nothing would be given to you. That if you want something in life, you got to work hard, and you have to prove yourself, and you have to earn it. And when I first came to USC, it was the fall of 1996, and it was very unlikely to me at that point that I would be standing here today, right now, as an alumni honoree. I desperately wanted to be at USC, and I wanted to be in the College of Journalism. And I had to prove very early on that I belonged to be here, because I was initially not admitted to USC. But after improving my grades my senior year, I was allowed to come to Carolina as a part of what they call the provisional year program. So I don't know if you guys still have that, but my first year major was technically called PY. Talk about going on campus talking about your PY major. But it was, that's how it was nicknamed at the time, and it was basically like you were admitted to college on probation already. And you had continual check-ins each month with advisors, and they checked up on you, made sure things were going okay. But all that didn't even matter to me because I was given that chance. And I had my foot in the door, and I had every opportunity at my fingertips, and I ran with it. So I explored really every track in the College of Journalism. First I started as a print major, growing up around newspapers. Then I switched to public relations, and eventually I landed in the advertising track, and that's where I was really able to thrive. I learned the basics of media planning and buying from the late Dr. Alan Freed. He was a sweet man. He was a smart man. And he gave his lectures in the classroom, and if we were lucky, he gave his lectures equally as well from the local watering holes, sometimes in 5 points too. Van Cornegay taught me lessons in the computer lab that I continue to benefit from today. Taught me the basics of design with new programs at the time, like PageMaker, Cork Express. I know. And I think you were even the first person that told me what Googling it was, maybe at the time. So, but I swear on this, and you gave us a cheat sheet on how to work Photoshop, and I still have that cheat sheet in my drawer desk today at work because it always comes in handy. So thank you, Professor Cornegay. Bonnie Juniani exposed us to the world of advertising and creativity. And so in a world of grades and tests and studying, Bonnie's class was always a place where we could go to expand our minds and really think about the big idea within an ad. So as everyone knows here, Bonnie loves the Super Bowl. And she did not throw the big polling parties back then like she does now. But evaluating the game was always a part of her curriculum that she gave us. And to this day, because of Bonnie's class, I still remember almost every ad of the 2000 Super Bowl. I taped it on my VCR so I could study it for your class. But it also was the .com Super Bowl that year because there were a lot of companies that launched ads, put all their money into the Super Bowl that night, and they weren't even around 2 months later. So thank you, Bonnie, for opening my mind to all the creative possibilities of a career in advertising and what it could be. But the man who probably impacted my life most, who Lisa already alluded to, is Professor John Wardrop. And he's the reason why I'm standing here today. Because he inspired me and he opened my mind to a world that I didn't even know existed. And he made current events within the advertising industry embedded into his curriculum. So we were all required to subscribe to Advertising Age as a part of the class. And it wasn't just for fun. He would take the topics from each issue and he would test us on it. What new campaigns broke, which accounts were in review, which brands won the latest awards. It was all part of his tests. And if we didn't stay current with the industry, we weren't going to do well in this class. And he also took it beyond the classroom. His Maymester Field Study and Advertising course is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. So with Professor Wardrop, I was able to travel to New York City and visit some of the best agencies in the world and meet with people who were just a few years earlier were in my shoes, but they were out there and they were really doing it in New York City. I still remember during the middle of the trip, I went to Professor Wardrop's hotel room one night. And I was having the best time, and I wanted to just thank him and let him know that I was thinking that New York City might be something I was interested in. And so he got off the phone with his wife. He said he had to talk to a student, and then he gave me the advice that really changed my life. So the next day, we were going to visit McCann Erickson. And a graduate named Jill Elwinger was going to be speaking with us that day. And he suggested that I approach Jill after her speech and ask if I could shadow her for the day to see what being at an agency was like. And the next day I did just that. She spoke to us, and I left the class behind, and I spent the rest of my day at McCann. And when I moved to New York City 2 years later, it was to work with Jill on her team at Ogilvy and Mather, where she was at the time. I think the point is the opportunities at the University of South Carolina are really everywhere around you. Another Maymester class I took was in the College of Journalism was about sports in the media. And it was led by former Gamecock play-by-play announcer Charlie McAlexander. He would bring in different people in the industry, and one of our speakers was former USC SID Carrie Tharp. So I was later able to work as a student assistant, similar to Charles, on Carrie Tharp's team in the athletic department. I got to sit field side for some of your games, Coach. I was responsible for other important things, like delivering Coach Lou Holtz's USA Today each morning from the Capitol Newsstand. But along the way, I was given opportunities to work press row, athletic events. I was able to hone in my writing skills that I had learned in the College of Journalism and really help to publicize the Gamecock Olympic sports. And I owe my first job to that. My first job was at the University of Texas in their athletic department, working for John Bianco. And I owe my time at USC, and I owe Michelle Schmidt, who introduced me to the people at the University of Texas, everything for that, because that's what gave me my start. And after my time at UT, I lived in New York City throughout my 20s, and I loved everything about the experience. First, I started at Ogilvy, an institution that I really worshipped, because after reading Ogilvy and advertising at USC, and then I moved to a place called McGarry Bowen, which was a small agency startup at the time. And now it's grown to a much, much bigger agency. And my wife Meredith and I, we moved to Atlanta in 2008, and I was able to join the Home Depot in Atlanta and take my skills from an advertising agency, but come at it from a completely different way, working directly for a brand and managing the output from multiple advertising agencies. And I loved my job, and I wore the orange apron super proud in the working warehouse. And I learned from incredible leaders, from people like Kim Grenier and Frank Bolfolko and John Rosh and Trish Mueller. And that brings me to my current job and the past 5 years, which has been really, really special to me. And tomorrow is October 27th, and that actually marks my official 5-year anniversary with the Coca-Cola Company, believe it or not. And the entire time I've been dedicated to managing the integrated marketing communications for, in my opinion, the most iconic brand of all time, which is Coca-Cola. And I've learned so much so much from so many people. My boss, Jennifer, JJ Heelan, she took a chance on me and hired me back in 2012, and it's something that I'm always going to be grateful for. And through her, I've learned the craft of storytelling and others. I've learned the purposeful ways to drive relevance and new news for a brand that's 130 years old. And I've learned what it means to be a global brand, the impact of communications and the opportunity of collaboration across borders and different geographies. And I've had the privilege to really work for industry icons in my mind. People like Pio Shunker, Jonathan Mildenhall, Wendy Clark, Ivan Pollard, Bryn Bardacchi. And I've been given the opportunity from Coca-Cola leaders like Marta Fucamberta and Rodolfo Echeverria to expand my mind more and lead work streams within our global system. And have had an impact in places around the world that I thought were never possible for a guy who grew up in a small town from South Carolina. And no matter where I've been, I've always been proud to be an alumnus of the University of South Carolina. And I've held on to the things that the school, along with my dad, taught me from day one, and that's to treat people well, to work hard, really hard. And whatever you do, to make sure you do it with enthusiasm and always go the extra mile. So let me close by passing along a piece of advice from Professor John Wardrop. The last time I saw him was in 2004, and that was during his final trip to New York City, and we were out to dinner together. And he was battling cancer at the time, and I asked how he was feeling. And Professor Wardrop, in his unapologetically optimistic way, he said to me, "You know, Russ, the doctor's telling me that maybe it's time to start eating my dessert first." And thinking back, I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I think more about it. He was really, really right. And it is, some of the best advice I've ever heard, that I've always tried to live my life to the fullest, and as Professor Wardrop said that night, I've tried to eat my dessert first. So thank you to USC. This is an incredible, incredible honor. This place has helped to shape my life. I'll always be grateful. And go Gamecocks. Let's eat our dessert first. Thank you.